LGD's turn to ban.
And the evening rolls on.
Zenith,
This time, though, we
turn
get a
to
break
ban.
for what has become the norm, or at least it felt like it became the norm to our last match because we had an all-Western matchup last series. This time, all-Eastern. Zenith going to be taking on LGD Gaming. And not going to lie, looking at the standings, this is a match of immense importance for both of these two teams. They sit in the same group, both on the outside looking in of the upper bracket bubble so far as where they're going to come out when all's said and done. Team DK sitting at 6-4, LGD Gaming at 5-5, and Zenith at 4-6. So you're talking three teams all vying for those positions. Of course, it's close at the top as well, but those teams are really going to have to lose the rest of their series to really have a chance of falling out. This is do or die time for Zenith. To realistically have a chance to catch Team DK and the rest of that top tier, they really need to go 2-0. LGD, they could afford to split maybe one more series as we saw them do today. But when it comes down to it, no reason to take more chances than necessary. So LGD and Zenith, I'm sure, taking a look at the standings, they know how important it is. I can expect to see some big-time plays and a lot of fireworks here in our next to last series of the day. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, and glad to have you in, and of course, glad to have in my casting partner of choice as always, Draskell, giving us the insight and analysis.
I am more than happy to be here, of course, as always, and this matchup for both teams is so unbelievably important, as you stated before. The thing about Zenith is that you never really know what Zenith is bringing to the table. They're kind of like, there is a wildcard team, but this is actually the wildcard team because they don't ever come into a game, in my opinion, with a set line of rules to say, okay, this is a style we're going to play. They kind of just do whatever it is they want to do, and it looks like the first two picks for them are actually going to be relatively standard. It's going to be a Visage and a Naga Siren, whereas LGD go for the very standard Dragon Knight. Wouldn't be surprised to see them follow it up with something like a Chen if they wanted to try to mount that early game push. But let's also remember that Naga Siren is still pretty decent against those kinds of compositions because you can just throw out the Song of the Siren and pretty much stop the push dead in its tracks and try to engage in the best way possible. But LGD going for more of a team fight composition so far themselves with Dragon Knight and Gyrocopter together. Obviously, you have the call down, you have a decent amount of AoE and some good wave clearing. So both teams looking actually fairly standard so far.
Yep, Gyro and the DK, 2 cores, and yeah, like you said, I think that sums it up. Standard. Maybe not the most standard thing in the world to see a Magnus ban, but you can understand why. LGD, they know that Yao does play the hero fairly often, and one of the few players who really does still pick Magnus regularly. You and I have already casted him on Magnus twice, and I'll be honest, his last performance on Magnus was not that impressive. It just wasn't. He had some really bad decision making. Maybe it's exhaustion. We were joking last game. Both of us said some goofy stuff here and there and just kind of caught ourselves and laughed about it. But sleep not always on the caster's resume, and it's been an amazing last 48 hours of Dota. Not complaining, but sometimes you get tired, and I'm sure that's beginning to set in with these players as well because they've played just as many games as we've casted each day. Zenith's going to go ahead and grab the Jakiro to go with the Naga Siren. Very nice hero to put with the Naga, one of the few who can reliably chain his abilities with Naga and have her shut off the Song of the Siren to make sure that the overlap is there. LGD now perhaps going to be looking for some kind of initiator. Obviously, the Magnus would be their go-to if that was really their plan before, but with the ban out from Zenith, maybe thinking something like a Puck.
A Puck is a definite possibility, actually, for either team at this stage, but LGD going to go for the Darkseer, somebody who we haven't really seen that much today, at least. Yeah. At least the games that we have been casting. I'm not sure what everybody else is picking so far, but that is a serious wombo combo they've got going on so far. Call Down and Vacuum is a combination that's been used for a very, very long time, and Dragon Knight has a decent chunk of AoE in his own right, so LGD definitely picking a team fight composition. But again, Naga Siren, it doesn't necessarily matter how good your team fight is if you can just stop the chain of initiation by using the song. And now Zenith, they're going to pick up a Queen of Pain after the fact. So they have a nice combo themselves. They have the capability of just coming out of the sleep with the Ice Path and lining up a good Sonic Wave and bursting somebody down. But the one thing about LGD is that they have 2 heroes so far that would most likely go BKB, assuming the Gyrocopter and the Dragon Knight are going to be cores. And then you have a Queen of Pain on the side of Zenith, who is pretty much going to be the only one even contemplating buying a BKB against LGD's team. So that combination that they have is going to be effective for a very long period inside of the game.
That's a really, really nice point to make. And just to make the counterpoint, if one thing that Zenith is going to be able to rely on with the Gyro and Dragon Knight both being heavily reliant and heavily influenced BKB heroes, Naga Siren, and we've talked about this in previous countless games. What she brings you, she brings, like, Ensnare is always good. It's excellent in the laning phase, but it's an ability that actually gets better as the game goes on, just because of how important it is to just hold down these big damage dealers once the biggest items come out. So if you go ultra late, just having that reliable through Magic Community lockdown is just of immense importance. And seeing that the way that's going to match up with their lineup, I mean, right now they have a lot of magic damage. That's kind of what they're banking on. Queen of Pain, Jakiro, Visage looking to pour it out. LGD, on the other hand, they actually have a really nice balance, or at least they will, once the Dragonite and the Gyro get up. Say their first post-core item. I mean, obviously the Dragonite's going to want to get a BKB up, so will the Gyro, especially against this kind of a team. And that's kind of the interesting thing that jumps out at me is usually whenever you draft a magic damage-based team, you want to try and do it against the team that, like you just pointed out, the fact that there are not going to be a lot of BKBs coming out on the side of Zenith. But when you see a Gyro and a Dragon Knight come out like this, and then you draft a team that is 100%, at least as of right now, reliant on magic damage, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you don't execute early. So Zenith going to be under the gun to make sure that their firepower is best utilized early on. Otherwise, when DK Gyro get BKBs up, could be all she wrote.
Yeah, I'm kind of feeling the same. It's the lineups like these, because they're so execution-based, it puts a lot of pressure on the team. And it kind of makes you force into positions that normally you wouldn't have to go for. So that's why typically I enjoy the compositions like LGD has, who have massive team fight, who also make a decent transition, whereas Zenith falls off pretty significantly. Now, that's not to say that the Queen of Pain can't semi-carry. And, of course, we haven't even seen what actual carry Zenith they're going to be picking here, but we will in just a second, as LGD have taken out AM as the last ban. So they need a damage dealer, and they need one pretty bad. So if the damage dealer they get isn't going to go for a BKB and doesn't have good mid-game presence, I feel like LGD have actually drafted really, really well here, and they're actually just going to go for a Sand King. So they are pretty much all in during the mid-game, and that means the Naga Siren is actually, it could be a farming Sand King. That has been done before. Yep. The Sand King goes for the Blink straight away, and then as soon as he gets a Blink Arcanes, he just lets one of the other heroes get the lane farm.
Yep.
But we'll see what they're going to do.
Or looking at their lineup, I mean, like if it's a farming Naga Siren, Queen of Pain would be the obvious mid. You know what they could do? They could end up running a 3-support tri-lane, a 3-support offensive tri-lane into this, because I can see what they're anticipating. You run a Sand King, a Jakiro, and a Visage, and just farm the Sand King out of the offensive tri-lane, then you'd isolate the Naga Siren, let her solo farm against the Darkseer, and then give the Queen of Pain a solo lane. I can see that working for them. That is a very potent stun to lead things off with the Burrow Strike, the Ice Path to follow it up, then you're going to have the coup de grace off of Visage in the form of Soul Assumption. And Grave Chill, of course, an excellent way to set up Ice Paths. If you can Grave Chill someone whenever they're grouped up, and Jakiro just has an easy time getting the angle. So, don't know. And, you know, I've even seen... I'm going to throw this out there just because I saw a team like some Taiwanese team or what Filipino team do this, and it seemed really interesting. They actually ran an offensive tri-lane that was something along the lines of a Queen of Pain, Sand King, and Jakiro. It wasn't exactly those three. But the idea was it was a Sand King mid. It was like a Queen of Pain, a Visage, and something else that they ran in an offensive tri-lane. They ran the Sand King mid, which you and I have talked at length about in the past, about how that really is a nice place for him. Then maybe try to solo farm the Naga. But either way, the lane's very wide open. On the side of LGD, though, I mean, we see the Lena pick up. That's obviously going to be there, too. Mid, one would imagine, going to be the DK with the Gyro farming and the Darkseer in the offlane.
Yeah, if they do end up running the aggressive try from Zenith, it's much more likely to be just the Naga Siren mid and then put the Queen of Pain against the Darkseer, because a melee versus a Darkseer is never that good of a time. Yeah. And the Queen of Pain can still actually harass a Darkseer even at low level, because you can only Ion Show one creep, and if you Shadow Strike and auto attack, it can be pretty annoying. So we'll see what laning choice they decide to go with. But for Zenith, the farming Sand King, Chinese teams have done that before. Obviously Zenith isn't a Chinese team, but they're an Eastern team, so sometimes you kind of just take notes from other teams' books.
Right.
I'm questioning the capability of executing that well during the mid-game when there are so many ways of locking you down on the side of LGD that if you make a single mistake, you're going to get punished so hard. And it's not even just about the late game, it's about the mid-game too.
Yep.
The AoE that they have is insane. Darkseer, Lina has double AoE nuke, call down, the Dragon Knight, even DDC on the Nyx Assassin has the Lion Stun. So I don't know, man. They're putting a heck of a lot of pressure on themselves.
Yep, it is going to be that mid Sand King. And, yeah, we danced around it. The compositions we both kind of guessed around. I'm sure one of us said something along these lines at one point. But yeah, it is going to be the offensive tri-lane. And I actually really like this. I agree with you. It's putting a lot of pressure on yourself, but it's weird. It's like we were talking about. I mean, it's just one of those things that Zenith does. They just do weird stuff, and they will catch you out with it, and they will punish you with
30
it.
seconds.
And it's hard to tell what they're going to throw at you. I like the fact that the Queen of Pain is going to be isolated, as you so astutely pointed out, against the Darkseer. Much better matchup than the Naga Siren matchup I had proposed. And but yeah, this lane has so much kill potential. I mean, when you're talking about an ice path following an ensnare with, again, Grave Chill and so on and so forth, and then you're going to have one very squishy support in particular in DD. But Gyrocopter, as much damage as he can deal out, he does not take it very well. Only 530 HP. He actually starts the same. It's all actually the same for all three of these heroes. So you are talking some very, very comparatively easy to kill heroes, especially in comparison to a Chikiro and a Visage, which start considerably better.
The one thing I do enjoy about Zenith's lineup is not only do I get to see Yamata on the mid Sand King, but Sand King versus melee is pretty dominant because Caustic, every single time you get a last hit, if you're another melee and you're trying to go for a last hit yourself, you take a huge amount of harassment. So I think this matchup might actually go in favor of Sand King. He has a slightly higher base damage, although it's very, very slight. And yeah, he is going to go ahead and skill Caustic at level 1. So a lot of this game is going to be based on the 3v3, of course, as we always mention as well, in the top lane. And it's dangerous, man. If you get caught out by one stun and you're on the side of Zenith, you could very, very easily die. And the same could be said for LGD, as long as it's one of the weaker supports that gets hit.
And that's kind of what, yeah, I mean, so much of it's going to be positioning. Very much, I mean, Nyx Assassin, once it gets Carapace, will have a get-out-of-jail-free card, or darn near to it. But, you know, level 1 Impale is just so weak. It really, I mean, you can use it to lead things off, but generally speaking, he just is not that great of a lane support to begin in the face of pressure until he gets at least a handful of levels. And all of them very, very non-survivable. I mean, Jakiro, one of the tankiest early supports at 625, and even the Naga Siren, who is known to be rather squishy, has more health than all three in the lane of LGD. So, down at bottom, we'll be seeing what you expect to see out of a Darkseer. Darkseer in a one-on-one, he's going to cut creeps, he's going to use Ion Shell, and he's going to get his farm, no problem. But the Queen of Pain certainly not going to struggle all that much either. It looks like we're going to have a quick pause, and hopefully we'll be up already. Wow. See, this is what happens whenever Valve runs a tournament. That would have been a 10-minute pause if it was us, right?
It would have been a 10-minute pause because somebody would have accidentally unplugged their mouse and not known where to put it back in.
Exactly.
That would have been one of the reasons why we have pauses usually. So, oh, need to be careful with the courier here. Yamate actually almost running it into Yao mid. That would have been pretty bad if he ended up getting that killed, especially since it's our good friend BTS's courier, the El Gato.
Absolutely.
But I think this is actually going to go decently for Zenith. I mean, the Naga Siren isn't getting a huge amount of farm, but the Gyrocopter isn't that far ahead of him yet either, so.
Taking an eye, I mean, I'm actually surprised this lane has been as quiet as it has, because they're spending a lot of time in close proximity to each other. It just seems like one of those situations where cooler heads will not prevail. Someone's just going to end up getting antsy, pulling a trigger, starting a war. And still going to be keeping an eye on it here in mid. The Sand King, as we can see, is doing pretty well. DK certainly doing well too. He's at 12 to the 8 of SK. More importantly, though, I mean, just having his bottle up, already being level 4, he's going to be level 6 very, very soon. What's going to be very important for Zenith, regardless of how the farm ends up going, again, I think the point is largely just the fact that LGD is going to be magic immune at some point. That was going to be a top priority regardless of what the composition happened to be. And knowing that, they're going to have to put all of this magic damage they have in their heroes to use sooner rather than later. Otherwise, they're going to risk just losing by... It's almost like a build order loss if you know StarCraft 2. Like, that's the equivalent of it.
More or less, and the unfortunate truth right now is the DK isn't suffering right now. Yao's doing a really good job. He's playing it perfectly. He just sits back. He waits for the creeps that he's going for to actually be dead, and then he goes in, he gets a Dragon Breath off. And the thing with the Sand King is, even if you can harass via getting last hits, you can't actually trade hits with the DK, because he's got way more armor than you, and his auto attack is going to be slightly faster. So, all in all, Yao is doing a fantastic job here in middle. Bottom 2, Zhao 8 has actually the highest CS in the game right now, sitting at 21. Queen of Pain's not far behind, but XY is going to continually be taking harassment the more he has to tank under his towers. So, all said and done, I'd say LGD are kind of edging out all 3 lanes. Not by large margins, but when you lose all 3 lanes, even by a small margin, eventually it ends up getting to be pretty hard to deal with.
Oh yeah, and it's all relative. But you and I kind of had a brief conversation about that during that Liquid Alliance game, which certainly did not go that well for Liquid. Is in that case it was a complete, just dumping upon. Liquid just had a really, really bad start and just got worse from there. But when it comes down to it, the little things that you mess up, maybe that delays your boots a little longer. Maybe that delays your first major item, even if that major item is nothing more than a force staff or whatever the case may be. And if that comes out a minute late, and that minute is when the enemy team decides to capitalize and push a tower and you're not prepared to defend it, that can swing a game hugely. So what a small little loss of 200, 300 gold that delays you just a minute or so could sometimes result in a 2,000 or 3,000 gold swing just 5 minutes later because you are just lacking something you desperately needed. So yeah, game of inches and so on and so forth. It looks like we are going to see Zenith poke their nose a little bit more here, but yeah, neither team really interested in having team fights.
Well, the top lane is so volatile. Like, it can go either way in an instant just because of the inherent lineups of each side. So if you're LGD and you find the opening for a stun, you can go for the kill and almost assuredly get it. But because of Zenith's heroes, they can turn it around just as easily. We're talking level 2 Soul Assumption, double nuke coming out from, of course, Ice, and then Ice, Ice, Ice. So it's very dangerous. No one really wants to commit to a fight. But the thing is, the longer this lane goes on, LGD can keep pulling. They can keep getting their supports even more experience, because right now Ice is only level 2, and X Freedom is level 3 right now, whereas DD is halfway to 5 just because of creep pulls. Yep. So at some point, Zenith had put themselves in a position where they were supposed to have gone for a kill, but they haven't yet. So they're eventually just going to get out-golded, out-experienced, and then they're going to lose the lane just because they have a level disadvantage.
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm wondering, too. Like, there comes a point, and that point I feel like is already passed. If you're in an offensive tri-lane for 3 minutes and you don't accomplish one of the only 2 purposes an offensive tri-lane has, which is either disrupt the farm of the carry or get kills. Either one will do, and obviously you want both if you can get them, and usually one goes hand in hand with the other. But you're not accomplishing either of that. The Gyro, he's not free farming, but damn near. He's sitting at 31 CS compared to the top on the board, which is currently a Queen of Pain, who is essentially free farming against a Darkseer who's just creep pulling and letting her face tank the creeps by herself. So you're not stopping that. At what point is this just a lost lane? At what point do you say, okay, plan A didn't work, we need to collapse, we need to rotate, we need to do something, because we're just giving them a free advantage and getting absolutely nothing out of it.
The supports are really going to be the ones who suffer for this, because they're just kind of sitting up here doing a whole lot of nothing. I mean, if you're not creep pulling, or if you're not even trying to pull the big camp, which they finally are, so Ice 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 is going to do his supports a favor and get him a bit of bonus experience, pull the wave back a bit. This is something that is absolutely necessary at this point. They can't let themselves get any farther behind, because if DD gets Laguna Blade before these supports, or even above level 4 or 5, then things are going to go south very, very quickly. It's going to be one stun into instantaneous death, and then the lane automatically needs help. But they're waiting for Yamate. They need him to get level, well, not level 7, because he already does have it, but they need him to get as much experience and gold as he can, get a Blink Dagger, and help the top lane. That's pretty much his first order of business, and Yao has actually made the first move here as he has an Invis rune, but it looks like Zenith are a little bit keen on the idea themselves.
Yep, they had a ward down, so they saw him pick it up. They are very well aware he was on the way. Arc boots are done for Yamata, aka NWP. By the way, look up the most common usage of the word Yamata. When I found that out, it completely changed my opinion of the man in a weird way. Yeah, I'm not gonna do your homework for you. Just Google Yamata and make sure you have safe search on. But at any rate, 8 minutes in, no kills on the board quite yet. LGD continuing to just take free advantage. Like, that's all there is to it, just free advantage of what Zenith has constructed here. And you look at the CS, 3 of the top 4, all belonging to LGD. The only one remotely in range is the Queen of Pain. Then after that, I mean, Naga's getting something accomplished, but, she could have got something accomplished in a defensive tri-lane. She could have got considerably more than something accomplished. She could have got, actually even accomplished. Instead, just continuing the trail behind, and when she's falling behind, and as you point out, the supports are falling behind, I don't know. I'm just curious what they're waiting on.
Well, the interesting idea behind the tri-lane being aggressive is that they wanted a one-on-one matchup where the hero against Darkseer wouldn't just lose, and they wanted another hero that would be able to benefit from getting a lot of solo experience and potentially getting more farm than normal, aka the Sand King. And we might have to hold that thought, though, because mid they're going.
There you go. Now they're going to engage. And the epicenter. Going to be more than enough. First Blood goes the way of freedom. Using his soul assumption to secure the kill. And that's exactly what they needed. Something. It doesn't matter where. It didn't have to be top. Just any kind of movement to break this down and to try to upset the status quo. 1-0. Zenith finally gets us a little blood in the soil right around 9 minutes. Now, Naga going to be caught. There's a call down as well. She will be caught by it. Light Strike Array off the mark. However, Dragon Slave's not. Mirror Image. Buying some time. Ice Path bought just enough time for Ice. Now the re-engagement. DDC taking tower shots. Yamate TP's in and is going. Yes, he does catch DD. Now, though, Yao's there. They're going to re-engage Siler, doing a lot of damage with that Rocket Barrage. Laguna Blade secures yet another kill. And Freedom can do nothing but withdraw back under his own tower. I'll tell you what was so sick, even though she ended up dead anyway. Using the mirror image to spread out the Rocket Barrage damage and then buy just enough time for the Jakiro to get into position to throw that Ice Path. They re-engaged afterwards and ended up paying the price. But nice plays nonetheless. We're all knotted up at 10 minutes, 2-2.
Yeah, all in all, LGD are going to be happy with that exchange. Especially considering the supports got even more out of that too. I mean, the Nyx Assassin's only 4.5, but the Lena's going to be 7 soon. And that nuking power coming out of DD is going to be a lot to handle. Especially considering poor Ice. He's not even 6, man. And Siler himself too, he's 7.5. So the level advantage for LGD is getting bigger and bigger. I mean, it's not really a lot of experience on paper. It's only about 1,500 difference. But when these heroes need levels more than anything else, even just a small difference like that can be the make or break in the early game.
You take a look, just looking at the hero level graph on the left, it proves the point. You got 5, 5, and 5 on all 3. And then 8, 7, and 6 are the next ones up. And it's like, yeah, you've got 2 heroes that are on par, but the rest of them are falling way behind. Only the Nyx Assassin is still trailing at this point. And that's just, and again, the big loss there is the Naga Siren. Naga gets exponentially better, whether she's a carry or not, with levels. It's just because of how ludicrous it is to have a 60-second Song of the Siren. Like, that just becomes so silly. So you want her to get to 16 as quick as you can. Level 11, much better than level 6 in terms of Song of the Siren as well. And given that that's almost always going to end up being a big part of it, hang on, we're going to have Yao caught out. Ice Path, following the Bro Strike, another epicenter, and Yao not liking the rhythm. I can tell you that. That's the second time he's died to that process.
Yeah, he's going to be pretty sad right now with that whole turn of events. And XY is trying to get the mid tower, but they're going to glyph it and possibly go for a deny and some TP reaction coming out of LGD. So they're not going to actually go for the tower kill. They're just going to let LGD deny it, which is kind of a bummer because that's quite a bit of gold loss. Sand King, though, dangerously close to his Blink Dagger. He only needs like 1 more creep wave, and then Yamate is going to be able to initiate for his team, which is something that they need pretty badly. I mean, we talked about Queen of Pain and how you don't really want to be the one to blink in if you're the queen, because then you put yourself in a position to be bursted really quickly, especially against LGD's composition. So it's nice to have another hero with a lot of mobility who can open up the team fights with stuns. And yep, there we go. Yamate gets his Blink Dagger.
Big change of pace now for Zenith. Now this is where, again, this window of opportunity, we're coming up on the close of the laning phase. Really, the laning phase is already broken down. So getting into the mid-game meat and potatoes, when their magic damage is going to be at its peak. Level 9 on the Queen of Pain. She'll have her level 2 ultimate very soon. Maxed out Scream of Pain. Epicenter should be will be level 2 very, very soon as well. And they are where they need to be with their 2 largest damage dealers. However, they need to get the job done. And more to the point, just getting kills isn't going to be enough, because you're talking about a gyrocopter and a DK that once they build any items at all, they're just going to start to feel really immune to what Zenith is able to pour out. So instead, the goal 100% undoubtedly going to have to be not just to get kills, but to take secondary and tertiary objectives afterwards. Take Roshan afterwards. Take towers afterwards. Get map control. So you can pin that gyro and that DK back and make sure they never have a chance to farm the way they want to farm.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
That is ideal, yeah. That's pretty much the game plan, honestly, if you're Zenith, but LGD are simply just not having it at the moment. I think that Zenith have the advantage right now just in terms of being able to force the fights on their terms, especially when you have a Naga Siren to fall back on. That is just so nice to be able to say, okay, Yamate, you go in. If we think the fight's going bad, we'll use this, we'll back up, or we'll force the fight when we know that we can win it every single time. And that's just the power that hero gives you. So they managed to start pushing into the tier 1 in the off lane, or the bottom lane rather, whereas they actually get a tower kill on top if you're LGD. So it's trading towers, but LGD are, as commonly referred to, the master tower defenders, and they do not let their towers go away for free.
We're going to see a smoke out of LGD. Moving down their off lane at bottom, we see most of Zenith has gathered. Looking to perhaps take a tier 1. Tier 1, only about 300 HP. They're trying to bait out something up here, just trying to wait for someone to come farm, essentially. And playing very patient. Yao has TP'd back to mid, and we're going to have another TP now as they realize they're going to have to try to defend this tower unless they just want to give it away for free. Zenith has most of their firepower concentrated here, actually all of their firepower concentrated. And let's see if LGD wants to take the fight. There's a vacuum on nothing but the illusions. Zhao forced to withdraw. Yamate looking for an opening. And there's the impale. Call down comes down. They're going to be cleaned up with breathe fire and the blink with the epicenter. Only doing so much damage to one, but the sonic wave there to follow it up. Laguna Blade doing damage on its own. The rest of LGD forced to pull back. Here comes XY, and that magic damage showing itself off. XY with a beautiful blink and scream of pain. Following the epicenter, following the sonic wave. The epicenter actually only really caught one after the burrow strike. But the sonic wave, excellent, and the follow-through, excellent as well. They get the tower, they clean up 4, and now in great shape, moving ahead into the mid-game.
That was a really, really nice follow-up coming out of Zenith. Ice kind of just walked behind the tower and fed. I'm not really sure what he was doing, but that was not ideal at all. But I guess on the flip side, they did allow Yamate to get a nice epicenter off, and then of course they followed up with the Scream and the Sonic Wave on Yao. So all in all, a really good fight for Zenith. I think they actually could have done that a little bit better even. And even with Zhao 8 having the mech, it just simply doesn't matter. The output of damage was just way, way too high. And Sylar, he gets a BKB, but I think he personally hoped he had it a little bit sooner after that last engagement. And they're smoked up on LGD. I'm not sure if they want to go for Roshan. It looks like actually the target's going to be the tier 1 bottom instead.
Gonna try and find someone hanging out. See Zhao 8 sticking his nose out in front. Ice. Not gonna get spotted. EDC bent it a little too early. There's gonna be TPs coming in. It's gonna be 2 of them, and here we go. There's Song of the Siren. They're waiting on the whole team to land in. Looking over here on the side, everyone's grouped up. Ice Path, beautifully placed. Macro Pyre. There's the call down as well. And they are just laying into them on both sides. Both teams unloading every bit of damage they had. Ends up going the way of LGD this time, though. The Song of the Siren, just not enough. And I can tell you the difference right there. That's a full wipe. But you know what the difference was? Sylar had a BKB. Sylar had a BKB. He landed his call down. He got off his Rocket Barrage max level. And they didn't have Scream of Pain. They did have Epi, but they sure as hell didn't have a chance to use it. Point basically proven. I mean, it was such a different outcome. Even though they lined it up and even though they were lacking one of their big nukes, LGD just survived through it.
Yeah, they definitely were able to tank through the damage. Yao barely lived there. Like, he didn't have anything left in the tank once they got out of that combo. But the thing is, if there was an Epi there, they would have been able to channel it while the song was waning because the Ice Path was going to eat the time between it. It would have worn off and his Burrow Strike, of course. So if they had Epi, I think they would have won that fight regardless because even if the BKB goes off, the rest of his team is dead.
Right.
Like, there was 3 heroes that got caught by that Ice Path and 3 heroes who got Burrow Struck, but by the time it ended, there was only 1 person dead. So I think, honestly, that might have changed it, but of course the BKB also makes a gigantic difference for the reasons that you just mentioned. I think that this game still is pretty much anyone's, because the Blink initiation on Zenith is still incredibly strong, and a 3,000 experience lead at 18 minutes really isn't that much, and the gold is almost nothing, really. It's like 1,000, I think, between the 2 of them.
Yeah, something like that. But, I mean, if nothing else, just the fact that LGD did win a fight, and we're going to see Queen of Pain caught out, beautifully timed, cleaned up for free, didn't even have a chance to blink away. But the fact that LGD wins that fight, and now just, it's a little bit more time Zenith has to spend trying to force another fight that is optimal, and more time that they're giving LGD to continue to farm. DK well on his way to his BKB. Actually now only needs about 1,000 gold, and he's going to get a chunk of it here if he takes the last hit on this tower. There's the Blink Epi. That's a lot of damage, but look, the mech threw it, the BKB up, and the same turnaround, even with the Epicenter. They just can't get the job done.
Radiant's middle tower
And it's hard to believe we're just 18 minutes, 19 minutes into the game, but yeah, again, it's what I talked about during the draft and what we're seeing right in front of our eyes. Sonic Wave is going to be a follow-up, so nice attempt by XY to make it a little bit better, and they're not done yet. Zenith tossing out an ice path. LGD also chasing them down. 3 are down for Zenith at the moment, and they're going to continue to pursue this out. Looks like they're going to bend into the river instead of to the south, but yeah, I mean, they came so close. At one point there, 3 to 4 heroes of LGD could not have had more than a quarter health. But then you mech through it, then you activate a BKB, and then once that happens, they're just shot. They just don't have anything else to use on the side of Zenith.
Yeah, the Queen of Pain, though, got bursted insanely fast. Didn't have a chance to follow up with her full damage output. She actually used the Sonic Wave after she bought back. So if that follow-up had been there, again, it just seems like Zenith can't get everything together. Like, they get 2 or 3 abilities linked together, then the last one that they're supposed to get in to finish everybody off is not there in time. And the longer the game goes, Yao now has his own BKB, and we talked about this during the draft, but it's very quickly getting to the point where Zenith aren't going to have the opportunity to win fights anymore because they just are really comprised of nothing but magic damage. And you've also sacrificed Ice 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 completely because he's 0-4. He has a decent amount of CS, I guess. 87 to 20 isn't amazing, but it's not terrible either. And he needs a lot to be able to carry this game, and he's just simply not getting it.
LGD control their fate. They're going to be able to play and this is where it gets scary for Zenith, because they are still under the gun to make something happen, but now they just have to do it into those BKBs. And if you're in LGD's shoes, you can just say, okay, come push our towers. We're just going to farm for now, because we still have, yes, we did lose our tier 1 top and bottom, or top and mid. So yes, it is a threat that you're going to invade our jungle. But at the same time, you've lost yours as well. So we can do the same damn thing. And we are dire, so we have control of the Roche pit. And we're just happy to take this as late as we care to take it. And we're just not going to worry about your magic damage any longer. And yeah, even Zhao 8 getting a BKB. Zhao 8's going to have a BKB in not even 600 gold, 550 gold.
Yeah, it's getting to be crunch time for Zenith. You need to start making decisions really quickly because this is a time bomb, and LGD with triple BKB and a mech, the only people you're going to be able to kill with your Epi Queen of Pain combo is going to be the supports. And the supports are not going to be the ones who are necessarily winning the fights anymore. It's going to be the DK or the Gyrocopter auto-attacking, of course. Now he's got an Eagle Song, so he is going to be going for the Butterfly. And at that stage, how do you kill him?
Yeah.
Like, what are they going to do? How is Zenith going to take down a Butterfly BKB Gyrocopter? And that's before he gets another item on top of that, which I'm sure will be in short time because it's still only 21.5 minutes in, and there's already been quite a bit of killing this game. So I think the LGD is still sitting pretty here. Zenith, they need to make something happen. I don't know what it is. I don't know how they're going to do it, but if they don't, LGD are just going to beat them sheerly by the composition of their team.
22 minutes in, and LGD, you can just tell. I mean, now that's a BKB done on Zhao 8 as well. And yeah, they just are really spoiling for a fight. They are not at all worried about Zenith engaging into them anymore. They take a free tier 2, utterly uncontested, and more to the point, not just uncontested, they got nothing out of that. You know, maybe a little split push out of XY, maybe a little gold, and he is making his way to a Scythe of Ice, so trying to find some way to take these big heavy hitters out from LGD aside from just burst. But, you know, again, just not drafted for it. They just do not have the composition for it. As you mentioned, Ice 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 really the one who has suffered so much here. And that just comes down to that offensive tri-lane that lingered way too long. You know, he is, I mean, a Soul Ring plus Tranks and 3,700 boots, and it looks like, or 3,700 gold, and it looks like he may be trying to bank up for his Radiance if he can afford the Relic in about the next 20 gold if he wants to. But we'll have to wait and see. Either way, LGD definitely not feeling pressed here. They're just taking their time.
If Ice 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 goes Radiance, I don't know what to do. Like,
I know. That's how kind of.
I would just like throw my hands up in the air and be like, all right, you actually don't want to win, because that's an item that actually prevents him from being useful for another 20 minutes. And in that 20 minutes, there's already 3 BKBs that are done on the side of LGD. What do you think that Radiance Burn is going to give you, man? He actually bought the Relic. I don't know, man.
That's what I'm saying. All right, it's like some magic damage. It's fine. I don't know what you're so worried about. Not like there's a relatively cheap, extremely cost-effective item that you can buy for 3,900 gold that completely makes that worthless. I don't know. Not like that exists. But Zenith, Say something, man. You're the analyst. You should know this, not me. Come on.
I feel like, I think the reason he wants it is because he knows that there's probably not a good chance that they would win a fight regardless of what item he gets, which is true. Like, no matter what he buys, he's not going to win the next team fight. So he wants to get an item that's going to let him get more items.
Oh.
That's really the only justification that I can find for it. And the problem with it is that he can't be with his images to farm, so he's not getting bonus experience or anything like that. He's simply getting an item to maybe farm the jungle. And the problem is, LGD are pretty much knocking at their door. And he has 1,000 health at 25 minutes into the game. I mean, for crying out loud, DD almost has 1,000 health, and it's a freaking support Lina. And Nyx has 1,100, and it's support Nyx.
Tier 2, once again, uncontested. And I think Zenith just know, man. They just know. If I had to guess, I think the reason he wants the Radiance is because it has the coolest graphical effect in the game. It just does. I buy Radiance sometimes when I pub just so I can see the graphical effect, the burn effect. It's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, I get that, you know. You want to have that property of your opponent looking at you and being like, oh man, I don't want to kill you, you look so cool. And then they kill you anyway because it's the International and they don't care how cool you look. But yeah, I kind of feel for him because he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like I said, the decision making and his item choice, yeah, it's not going to do anything for him in fights. But if the game goes on for another, like, 2 hours, he's going to be in really good shape.
Game goes on for like another 2 hours, I'm going to kill myself. That's what's going to happen. I'm going to just die at the desk. But right now, I don't blame LGD at all. I mean, they're literally doing nothing but just taking their time and making stuff, man. They're playing Minecraft, just making stuff. Reaver up on Yao. They're going to go do Roche. And there's that butterfly complete on Sylar. So even if they did have physical damage, they couldn't touch him. So now they can't touch him 2 ways. And Zenith, looks like they want to challenge this. LGD is playing it very, very safe, though.
Yeah, LGD always is a very cautious team. Sometimes even overly cautious, I would say. There have been times where we've seen them have an advantage and just they refuse to push it because they want to be like 10 million% sure they're going to be able to win the fight. But they're actually going to do a fake back instead in smoke. And this could be an initiation that Zenith are not ready for.
Zhao 8 got a spot out. There's one. Got to force the BKB out of him. Ice Path thrown just to ward him away. So LGD now maybe going to duck back in. Let's see. Again, I mean, Sylar's just so far ahead in and of itself. The net worth, the top 3, period. And net worth all on the side of LGD. Sand King, the most farmed on the side of Zenith. And that, yeah, poor everyone on the side of Zenith. Roshan, looks like he may survive a little bit longer, even with the medallion, just not enough damage coming out. And, you know, again, like you said, cautious to the point of being overly cautious, because I really feel like LGD could just go take a fight and then take a Roshan and win right now.
Oh, they definitely could, considering, I mean, everyone in their team basically has magic immunity. Heck, the Courier is going to have a freaking BKB soon, just because they have that kind of money. But I don't necessarily blame them for being cautious in this particular scenario. Because of Zenith's positioning, if they were to lose the fight, then Zenith can take Roche.
Right.
Now, I don't think Zenith's chance of winning the fight is very high, but miracles do happen.
But we're going to find out, because we got some familiars. They're going to spot the Roche attempt, and here comes XY. Going to be spotted. There's a Vendetta to follow it up, and the follow-up stun cooldowns there. Ice Path comes from the woodwork, but it doesn't matter. Damage is done. And now that the dragon is glowing, they cannot hurt him. They seriously cannot hurt him. He will not be touched. No one can touch the glowing dragon man. At the top, we see Zhao 8 pursuing out Ice. They didn't even have to use all their BKBs there. They only used 1. And looks like we're going to have a pause. And hopefully we'll be getting back underway. I want to remind everyone that we've got... This is our next to last series of the night. This is game 1 of this series, so 1 more coming up. And yeah, like I really want to check. I'll be checking in between series what the standings are based on... oh, who was it? It's Liquid versus... Zenith? Oh no, we're watching Zenith now. It's Liquid versus LGD, I think. Maybe. Oh, LGD End. That's who it is. And yeah, LGD End and Liquid, depending on how their current series are going, both teams are really on the cusp of having a chance to crack into the upper bracket. So that could be a series that determines the fate of one or both of them.
Yeah, the importance of the last match, especially, that's the one that I'm definitely looking forward to. And obviously, all the games are good. Like, there's not really. Well, okay, I shouldn't say that. The first day we had a couple. We had a couple of stops. Okay, I'm gonna be honest.
Seems like we had a pretty bad one earlier. I'm not sure. Are we choosing to block that out of our memory?
Yeah, I'm omitting that one for the sake of Team Liquid, but the Liquid LGD for me is one I'm really looking forward to because I know pretty much everybody on both teams in the game, so it's going to be really fun for me. But we're going to see Ice just die in the woods. We knew he was going to be dead anyway when the pause happened, but the poor twin-headed dragon is going to be heading back to the base the quick way and I guess the more expensive way. And LGD, this is pretty much all them. They can go for Roshan if they want to. It's already at like 60% anyway, and it looks like that is going to be the choice.
And yeah, we got to look just a moment ago. Yeah. I mean, LGD, there's really only so much analysis that can go into it. I mean, the points is what it is. Zenith is just really, they're shooting blanks, man. They're slinging spitballs. And, you know, outside of just getting an absolute jump, you know, even with Song of the Siren, the timing it would take with Song of the Siren to somehow stun all the heroes that need to be stunned and put together all of the magic damage in a bursty way enough to bring down the carries. It's just up. We're going to find out. What I was going to say is it's going to be pretty damn tough. Yamata getting into position. He's going to go find a charging spot. Or they're just going to walk away. That too. I guess Ice just felt like singing him a song. Let me sing you the song of my people. The people who apparently didn't get the memo about BKBs. All right, Roche finally going to end up going down after they duck back in. And there you go. Siler finally claims that damn Aegis.
Well, they were trying to go for the steal, but no one was really close enough when Ice used the song to go in and kill Roshan, actually, so unsuccessful, which is very unfortunate because Zenith needed that very badly. That was maybe one of the last-ditch efforts they could have possibly had to come back into this game, but now it's a day late, dollar short, and LGD are looking to be in spectacular shape. The only person who really has anything outside of Ice and Yamate is XY, and he's got a Hex. Like, it's 30 minutes in, and he has one item. So, when I say that they need a lot of farm, I mean, this game needs to go on for a very, very long time. And the one good thing that Zenith is doing, though, is that they're forcing their position on the map. This is something that you can always do when you're behind, or just get a free kill on Yao, too. That works.
BKB, there it is. And he's going to turn and try to fight it out. There's a vacuum into the wall. They're going to catch 3 of them. They finally did bring him down. But it cost them everything they had. DD going to be caught with the ice path, and now poor Ice has nowhere to go. No, never mind. Juked the wrong way and shot the Dragon Slave the wrong way. So, at the crossroads, apparently shows the good fork. DDC going to spot out Ice, who will now die because of it. Easy kill. But hey, they managed to at least get something going. And really, I mean, in this position, it's hard to imagine what they even can do other than what they're doing now, which is just try to find isolated kills and just hope that something happens across the course of the game that will allow you to make up ground. I mean, they're just going to have to farm the Naga into a pure carry and probably start getting some right click out of the Queen of Pain. I mean, she's got a Scythe of Ice. She's working on a BKB of her own now.
It's really hard, though, because when you have to go for BKB, it means that you're not really getting anything to deal with the DK or anything to deal with anyone. Because let's be honest, everyone's magic immune. You just can't hit them. There's too much durability on the heroes of LGD. But the way that Zenith is playing it, they're not conceding the ground. Usually they're just walking forward. They're always trying to push something, so that way they have stuff to fall back to. The thing that you don't want to happen is what's happening right now, where you're sitting inside of your base and you have to walk through LGD to get control of the map back, because that's where LGD are going to be feeling the strongest, and they know that they're really far ahead. And now Siler actually has lifesteal on top of his Butterfly and his BKB with that Aegis, so I wouldn't be surprised to see LGD actually wait it out just because the Aegis is very close to fading, and maybe even wait for the next Roshan because it's LGD. But hey man, it's the International, and if you want to play it safe, I'm not going to blame you.
Oh, exactly. Right now, taking a look at the items, Siler picks up his Helm of the Dominator, so with 2,900 gold in the bank, don't think it's too much of a stretch to say Satanic's on the menu. And at that point, I mean, he just won't die ever. I mean, he's not dying ever now. Now he just won't die ever. And if, by the way, if somehow the code broke and Ice Frog hacked in a way for Zenith to do damage to him, then he would still have a fallback option. Here we go. Yao's just going to go ahead and get all Blue Dragon about it. Siler eating a bit of damage there. And this is the only way that really I see LGD screwing this up, is if they half-ass, well, I don't mean half-ass like as in they're not trying hard, but whenever you have 2 or 3 heroes trying to crack a base and you just have one like Siler took damage there because they couldn't just, or he'll just go get kills. Where did that happen? Naga Siren just died near the top tower apparently.
Yeah, he was trying to do cheeky things and ended up dying for it. He's died a lot this game without even using his song. Like, he gets focused so hard. LGD just realized that that hero is a center point in being able to take fights. So if you focus her first and you kill her immediately, then the rest of Zenith is kind of like, oh man, we don't have anything to deal with this anymore. And more initiation on XY.
We're going to have Ice being hit with some mean dragon from behind, shooting Ice up his tailpipe. Good blade, gets the job done. Yeah, I'll pop the BKB for reasons beyond my ken. But working on a heart, he's tanky enough that, yeah, he'll survive some magic damage at this point on his own. Siler, well, this is what I meant. Here we go. Good burrow strike and the epi. They got to get the BKBs off quick enough. Sonic Wave does nothing. But see, and that's kind of what I was talking about when I said half-ass pushing. And I'll finish that thought in a minute after we see if they get Yao, and they will. And now they're going to use Song of the Siren. Try to chase down someone. Doesn't look like they're going to be able to catch them. Not even really coming close. But whenever they just walk up like that, they need to be forcing them out. They need to be the ones taking the fight to them so they can choose when to pop the BKB, not after a phenomenal burrow strike from Yamata that catches your whole team and guarantees that the magic damage actually does work because you don't have your BKBs at it.
You know, it could have gone even worse for LGD because XY was holding on to his ultimate again. When you see that triple burrow strike, you just throw the ult, man. Forget Scream. You can Hex, you immediately ult to make sure you get the most damage done, because the difference between a Sonic Wave and a Scream is double. It's like getting 2 Screams, basically, and they probably would have gotten Sylar very close to death, if not killed him flat out, if they had comboed that way. But I can't really fault XY too much. He's actually been playing very well this game. He got that triple kill bottom earlier when they took one of the first team fights, and Zenith were starting to show that they actually had some presence left. But now LGD, they've maybe had enough. This Aegis is going to be gone really soon, by the way, on Siler, so it's something we're going to have to keep an eye on when this next push comes to fruition.
Here we go. Getting ready to move on up. Taking a look at the buybacks. There's a burrow strike on the Siler. Spins the homing missile. And I understand playing cautious, but this is one of those instances. They're so far ahead. They need to be getting up on this. They need to be trying to chase them down and take the initiative. And I know that's hard to do against a Naga Siren. But, that's how they're still managing to do the magic damage we've been joking about for the last 15 minutes. It's why it's still relevant, is they're just catching them out with nice stuns, and mostly Yamata. Yamata's had a phenomenal game playing on this mid-Sand King. Yeah, LGD actually will just go ahead and pull back, so we'll be waiting on the next Roshan, just about guaranteed. There is a Satanic done now on the Gyrocopter, though.
Yeah, that Gyrocopter just became immortal. Very similar to what I expected Era to be before his courier was tragically killed by a roaming bug and a ward. That's pretty much the status that this Gyrocopter has just reached.
Oh, man. Let's see. At this point, Zenith, I mean, really, they're trying to find their farm, but again, the issues that they're going to face are just so hard to shore up. We're seeing a Manta style being made now by Ice Ice Ice. Yasha already complete. He needs about another 700 to get up his ultimate orb. And other than that, pretty anemic all across the board. I mean, they've got a gem on Freedom, so maybe they can try to take some vision back if they can take a fight or so. But for the most part, it's just the general state of things. It just has not changed in a while. And the gold even hanging around the same general area, right around 10,000. And 10,000 experience and advantage for LGD. And this is just this is just how methodical this LGD squad is. They could be trying to crack the base over and over again, but nope. They're like, yeah, look, they're just going to teleport back. Teleport back, keep tower up. No problem. Wait on Roshan.
Tower defense, man. That's what LGD does. They're really, really good info players, that's for sure. But this is the point in the game where Zenith are actually starting to recover a tiny bit just because of the build that Ice 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 went. Like, he's not getting punished for the Radiance choice. LGD are playing so passive. To be honest, the fact that he got this is probably for that specific reason. He realizes that LGD is an incredibly methodical team, and they just simply won't push unless they're certain that they're going to win. Because taking the outer tier towers is much different than pushing into the base. and pushing into the base against Zenith's team with Song and things like that is already proven to be relatively difficult. I mean, the last time they pushed, the Visage got a double kill, and they managed to clean up and push LGD out. And not only that, but Sylar's Aegis is gone. So they're not going to have the revival on him anymore. They still have a decent chunk of room to farm, and they have some vision. So Zenith are not completely out of it just yet. They're still at a pretty large deficit, but it really only takes like 1 or 2 team fights at this stage in the game, since it's approaching the 40-minute mark, to really get yourself back in it.
And yeah, I mean, right now, just there's really not a. I mean, it's good analysis, but just waiting on Roshan. Neither team is really coming near the river. They are playing this so remarkably passively that it's hard to imagine really. What I mean, it's just going to be a simple waiting game. Look at Yamate. He's already got up his ultimate orb. Really curious to see what he's going to turn that guy into. It's going to be. I mean, last time we said that, what was it? A Scotty came out on a Shadow Fiend. Don't think it's going to be that, but still, could be something as simple as just a hex, or could end up being something a little bit different. Could end up showing us something along the lines of I don't know, a Lincoln's, just to keep him alive and make him that much more survivable. Just have to wait and see.
I think the Hex is probably going to be the choice, just because since he's the Blink hero, if he gets a Hex, he can blink in, Hex the BKB target, and then stun afterwards, and have a longer line of crowd control, to the point where they might be able to burst down maybe the DK or the Gyro before they're able to use something like a Satanic. So that is probably going to be the choice behind it, at least. Yao, though, he gets a heart now. He's getting very close to 3,000 hit points, which is pretty tough to take down, regardless of how much magic damage you have on your team, which Zenith have a tremendous amount. And this is honestly surprising to me. Like, LGD could have punished so hard earlier, but they decided not to. They're giving Ice room to make his Radiance choice actually okay, and they're going to be going for the next Roshan. So this, I believe, is going to be Cheese. Cheese for Yao, most likely, and the Aegis for Sylar, because if they don't give Sylar the Aegis, they can kill him and crowd control before the BKB, or before the BKB even happens. So I like this choice by LGD, but I'm really hoping that they take this opportunity to push if they get it. But Ice comes in, and he might have Song ready for this.
They actually, it's the second Roshan, no Cheese on it.
Oh, it is only the second one. Okay.
No, they just took 85 years to kill the first one.
All right.
that's why it felt that way. They took longer than it would have taken Roche to respawn to kill Roche the first time. But Zenith, playing fearless, man. Got to give them credit. I mean, we were poking fun and all that. They are not letting this game go, and the way the Yamata's playing, I can't blame him. So long as he's able to hit 3- and 4-man burrow strikes every single time, they're going to have a chance. Of course, that becomes pretty difficult. Roche down to a quarter health. Yao doing what he can. Here comes Sylar, spotted out again by the Visage Familiars. Let's see if they're going to commit. They're so justifiably scared. Up to hang on. There's going to be BKBs up on both sides. Jelly's going to go in. The burrow strike only caught one was DDC. Yao trying to chase it back. Sonic Wave actually caught everyone, but with no follow-up, that's actually a pretty big waste because it didn't even require Sylar's BKB to survive it. Took nothing. So what we just saw right there is finally this gold and experience lead beginning to show itself in ways other than just items. The fact that they took that in the mouth and did not really care that much about it. They're going to get Roshan because of it. But right there we just saw just how important Yamate is. Whenever he was forced to burrow strike, not on his terms, and forced to BKB and just run away, Zenith had no way to really make a fight happen.
Yeah, and he's going to be relied on even more now because he has a Hex too.
Yep.
So if he doesn't play immaculate Dota, there's a very high chance that the next team fight could just decide who loses the Rax first. And DDC is actually going to find Yamate here. Wow, he actually missed the Impale. That is unfortunate. I don't think there would have been enough heroes close enough to follow it anyway. DD doesn't have a blink healing as a Force Staff, so he can't really cover that much ground. But yeah, I think LGD, they're going to group up most likely, and then they're going to try to potentially push down A lane. Maybe they're just going to go for the 2-2 top first, because that tower is still at 42 minutes for some reason is standing.
And yeah, LGD is taking their time. They're going to look to be heading in that direction. Zhao 8 continuing to farm out, push out bottom, just making sure that no split push potential exists as much as possible anyway. Tough to do whenever you have a Naga Siren with a Sand style, because there are little Naga Sirens everywhere. Sylar leading the way down top lane, And Zenith really not in any position to contend this unless they come like right now.
That
That damage is going to be too high. They're not, no way they can contend this unless, I mean, they seriously come right this second. There's a haste rune for Zhao 8 nonetheless. Bottles it up, has it to get on his horsey if he needs it. Tier 2 does end up dropping. Last outer tier tower does end up falling at 43 minutes in. And LGD looking like they might be ready to finally put the last nail in the coffin.
I would certainly hope so. I think LGD had a chance to put like 200 nails in this coffin, but they're really not willing to give away their top 4 placement here.
Don't blame
in Group base. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame him either. Don't get me wrong. It's just like at some stage in the game, you will have to take a risk. It just depends on how big of a risk you want to take, and the risk that LGD wants to take is so small that it's like almost not even a risk.
Yep.
So I mean, if you look at the net worth, Sylar is towering over everyone. He's worth 9,000 more than the next highest in the map, which is just, interestingly enough, has become Ice 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 because he's had, I don't know, 20 minutes or so with his Radiance up, and now he's got the full Manta. And he does have buyback for this as well, so let's say actually who else has buyback. It's pretty much just the Nyx and the Naga Siren. Those are the only 2 people on either team, actually, who have buyback for this.
As soon as this tier 3 drops is when things are going to get nasty. Because that's been the only thing really keeping LGD at bay. They bring down this tier 3, they could just stand there and wait for Zenith to come in, spread out. It's the bottleneck that has really been problematic for them. The bottleneck that is just naturally created, and there we go. No epicenter that time, though, just the stun. They did glyph it. The Aegis reclaimed in 3 minutes. Don't think it's going to be needed. And we're going to see them go ahead and start laying into the racks. And the Visage Familiars doing their thing. You can see how spread out they're staying. They do not want to have a repeat of what happened the last time they tried this. Or an epicenter and everything like this happened. Yao going to be eating a lot of damage. Got the BKB off on both sides, and he's going to be force-staffed out. And here we go. What could be the last battle. There's a call down, vacuum into it, and the wall. They're going to walk through it all. Nowhere to go but back for the well. They actually only end up killing 1. Check that, make it 2. They just did a hell of a lot of damage. XY spent everything he had, but the middle racks are going to end up dropping now. Yao did manage to stay alive that time. And clutch force staff from DD saved him for sure. Absolutely for sure. They're going to mech back up. The regen on these heroes is silly with the urn and with the hearts and the whole thing. The urn and the hearts and the whole thing. And that should be your second set of racks and will be, hopefully, sometime in the immediate future, a GG.
Yeah, I think Zenith are probably going to call it relatively soon after that because that was pretty ugly. You know, if they had gone on anybody but Yao, it would have been a kill. Like if they had gone on Sylar, if they had gone on Zhao 8, no one on the team has as much health as Yao. And the reason why Hard is a really nice choice here is because normally, if you buy something like a Satanic, you need to be able to attack to make sure that you're actually getting the effective HP from the item. Whereas a Hard just is flat out HP no matter what if you get disabled by the Hex or whatever. So it was unfortunate that they couldn't manage to kill him. I get why they didn't want to go for Sylar because he had an Aegis. But at the same time, even just getting the Aegis probably would have pushed LGD out because it's LGD, and they would have just said, we don't want to push anymore because we don't have a 100% chance of victory. But who knows? I think that, given the circumstances, Zenith have played this remarkably well.
I agree.
I think they just kind of picked themselves into a situation where their lineup has kind of not become that good anymore.
There's a Burrow Strike, Epicenter's there, and the full shebang. They're going to try to get it all off. They're going to get DDC for sure. No, Carapace actually stops it. Impale buys him some time. He's still going. They will be chasing him down, but in the meantime, his team's dying on the high ground. Freedom tracked down and cleaned up. The rest of LGD looking for another target. There's a homing missile locked on the Ice Ice Ice, who has 0 mana, caught by a Dragon Tail. DD's there, and everything in the arsenal used. Gem on the ground. And we'll see if they notice it. One would... there you go. Somebody saw it. Somebody picked that. It was DD, actually. He just doesn't care, actually. Just left it laying. Casual gem on the ground, donating it to the map.
Yeah, why do they need it, actually? I mean, there's not really any vision on the side of Zenith anyway. They have 2 wards, but neither of them are really doing them any good at the moment, considering LGD were almost at the tier 3 in the bottom lane. But Zenith, they're not going to tap out just yet. Ice 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 actually has a reasonable amount of gold right now, even after buying back. I mean, he's got 3,300 rather, and he's got 355 creep kills, which is very respectable considering he's caught up actually almost entirely to this gyrocopter when at the beginning of the game, he did not look like he was going to be having such a good time. So it's still only an 8-kill lead for LGD. Clearly, the experience and gold are massively in their favor. But Zenith are saying never say die.
Only one set of racks remaining. Well, I guess you can say they've got a range rack still hanging out. And LGD is going to turtle out another Roche. That's what LGD does. They're down another Roche. Wager anything. And, I mean, like, again, the only thing that I can imagine really getting Zenith back into this is starting to build right-click on someone. But who do you do that on? I mean, the Naga Siren okay-ish. She's actually tanking up now. Getting the Reaver. I don't feel like she has anywhere near enough damage for them to actually have a chance here. Like, she needs to be building damage items. But that's so hard to do whenever Siler's untouchable. Whenever he's already got an MKB, he's got his Butterfly, and he's building crit now. Like, he's just going to be three-shotting their entire team when he turns on Flat Cannon.
Yeah, this is why you don't let a gyrocopter get close to 6-slotted when you don't have any carries per se to deal with it. I mean, Naga is a carry, but the way that he's building him, he's not really a hard carry. He's more of like a tanky-ish, I'm going to do a reasonable amount of damage to a lot of heroes carry, which is not what they need. They need somebody who can actually focus down immediately, but they're going to try to smoke in.
Here we go. BKB's up everywhere, and Yamate melting down XY, but no one else. Siler there with his BKB up. Laguna Blade helps clean one up, and 2 down. I don't know if they have any buybacks. I'm going to guess probably not. No, they don't. Only 2 do. And they both belong to LGD. They're going to dive him to the well because, hey, that's what you do. Saw the Siren on Yao, who was actually being busted by the tower. He's going to just turn and leave as quick as he can. No, he got stunned by the Visage Familiars. A valiant effort, but in the end, went about as expected. This should be the conclusion to our game, as LGD finally will be clearing out the last of the standing buildings inside of their base. But Never Say Die continues for a little bit longer. Nope, there it is. Yamata, who really, such a huge part of the success Zenith did have, calls the GG. And can you imagine how different this game could have been if Yamata, for what, the first half hour, wasn't just hitting 3- and 4-man burrow strikes every single time?
Honestly, it could have gone much differently in that bottom dive. Like, I'm telling you, if there was epicenter for that, that fight would have went so differently, because that's the point when LGD actually started to turn it around. And you're absolutely right when you say that Yamate played out of his mind this game, but it just wasn't enough because he didn't have the proper composition to deal with LGD.
Yep.
They had a specific window where they were going to be stronger, and they wanted to really try to force the issue, and they did try, but LGD overpowered them in one fight. And when you lose momentum with a team like Zenith, and you are unable to really take any fights after the fact because the heroes have BKBs, then you kind of just slowly but surely lose footing in the game, and it's very, very hard to get it back. Even with 2 hexes, they couldn't manage to find any targets. In the last fight at bottom, they tried to smoke around the side, get the element of surprise, but BKB reactions coming out from the DK and the gyrocopter were instant. So there was like no opening at all coming out from LGD there.
A flat 50-minute game, 14-24. The kill score by the time all was said and done. We see Zenith take a loss at the hands of LGD. Again, a lot on the line for both of these teams. Zenith actually hurt a bit more than LGD would have been by a loss, as they were already on the losing side of 500. They were sitting at 4-6. Now they drop to 4-7. It's just about a must-win for them if they really want to have a chance to catch the other front runners in the group. But LGD, with a 2-0 blanking, will move themselves, if I'm not mistaken, into a tie for that 4th and final position at the top of their group. So LGD definitely going to be coming in with their game face on, definitely going to be eyeing that winner's bracket slot, and hope you guys are here to eye it with us. I'm AC. That's Draskell. We'll be right back with Game 2 of this Best of 2. Stick with us.